Hey guys, Cameron for Celebrity Big Brother, Season 1, Episode 11. This, of course, was the double eviction episode. I'm not talking about tonight's episode. I do not talk about episodes where they just recap the entire season. I do not talk about that. There's literally nothing to discuss there. But of course, I was really looking forward to this double eviction. Whenever there's a double eviction, it always is, one of the highlights in Big Brother. However, the previous seasons, they've been quite boring. They really have not been anything that great. They usually waste the double eviction on just some filler house guests, and I have to say, this was probably one of the most, more eventful double evictions I've seen in recent memory. I actually really did like this double eviction. It was as good as the one in Big Brother 18. Remember the one in Big Brother 18 where everyone started to expose Paulie and things like that? That wasn't as good as, say, that, but this was still a well-done double eviction. I definitely did like what we got here, and obviously there is a lot to unpack, so we're just going to get into it right now. So let me just say right off the bat that similar to a lot of this season, this did not feel like a double eviction episode for the first hour. And again, that's attributed to the fact of the way the Big Brother has gone about with these Friday episodes. They've just felt very strange because half of the episode you feel like you're watching what would typically be a Wednesday episode. Then all of a sudden, we cut back to Julie Chen. We're like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be an eviction episode. It's just too long. That's the thing. It's too long. It really just brings things to a screeching halt, and it's unnecessary. Again, I understand they're probably going to bring this back, next season, but a big tip, do not make these Friday episodes 2 hours. It just does not work, unless you're going to fill that 2 hours with something, eventful, like a double eviction episode. It did make sense for them to do 2 hours. Just don't do it. And a lot of people were speculating that because it was 2 hours, it would have gotten like a triple eviction, and I think that would have made a lot more sense than what we got here, because like I said, the first hour just kind of felt like a Wednesday episode. We had a veto that was played and things like that, and we're going to jump into right now, but first I really want to talk about Brandi, because let's just talk about Brandi's fall from grace. Now, right off the bat, once again, I'm very happy that the reason the Mark was targeting Brandi has nothing to do with the whole hinky vote for Shannon. I'm glad that that is completely out of the conversation. I'm glad that no one's really talking about that anymore, because again, that would have just been a really dumb reason for her to leave. I really still don't understand why even Ari was picking on Brandi, other than the fact that she was trying to take the target offer back. She did a good job with that, but I just don't understand why that was such a big deal. No, the reason they're going after Brandi is obviously for her utter disdain for James, but also because there's just no way that Brandi is going to work with them, and they're convinced that Brandi is a much better player than Ari. So, in retrospect, Brandi really has done a good job, because if you remember, the reason she's been working with Ari and the reason they've been doing all this stuff is not because she wants to win, because she wants Ari to win, and that's not a bad strategy. She's done everything in her power so Ari can win the game, and now here we are. No one wants to target Ari. A lot of people are coming after Brandi, and I did like the way that was played out. And I think Brandi, the second that she was nominated, I think she kind of knew that she was going to leave, that she was probably number one on the chopping block, and because of that, she does decide to stir up a lot of trouble, and I thought this was kind of fun. I like seeing her, call out James and call out Marissa. That was fun to see. A lot of people could say, oh, that was her trying to stir the pot and maybe try to save herself, but no, I mean, this is Brandi Glanville we're talking about. This is the same woman who, for the first 2 weeks of the game, was just constantly drunk and spurting out all these random things. I'm pretty sure that Brandi was just doing this because she knew she was going to leave, and she wanted to leave a mark on the house, which is completely fine. I have no problem what she did. I thought, honestly, her asking Ross say something bad about Julie's really funny, because you just never hear that. Like, you never hear the house guests talk shit about Julie, and I honestly found that really funny that she did something like that. And the fact they got so offended as well, I also found really funny. So again, I'm not upset with what Brandi did. I thought it honestly was really funny there. Once again, her and James have another fallout, which, I mean, that's not something that we're surprised by. Those two, it's just never going to happen. There's no way they're ever going to bury the hatchet in that sense. Maybe outside of the house, but inside the house, there's just no way they're going to do that. Brandi has a problem with James' ego, and James is a problem because he finds Brandi really annoying. So because of that, there's just no way they're going to be able to work through that, and that is completely understandable. Now, I do want to talk about the veto because, yes, we've seen this veto done a million times, but there was something done in this one veto competition that I don't think I've ever seen on this show. And that is that not only yes, the house guests were, of course, watching the veto. We've seen that done before. But I don't think I've ever seen the house guests, because of the fact they're able to watch the veto, use this as an opportunity to actually strategize with someone. And that's exactly what Omarosa decides to do. She is first out of this veto competition, which she wanted to be. She did not want any blood on her hands. And she takes this opportunity because she knows they're getting down to the wire. She doesn't know how long exactly. I don't think she realizes that it's literally in 2 days, not even anymore. But she takes this time to strategize with Ross and ask him, hey, you know, the final two is coming up. Why don't you take me to the final two? Because you can't beat Marissa, you can't beat Ari, and I thought this was incredible strategy from her. Again, I've never really seen this before, but it really does make sense, especially when there's only one other person there. You know, what are you going to do? Just watch this play out? I mean, this is the perfect opportunity to do that, and I really wish the house guests would do something like that. And again, that really just says a lot about Omarosa's gameplay, which, sure, she's been lying low the past couple of episodes, but she really is doing an excellent job. And I think this is one of those things where when that jury is finalizing her gameplay, especially because they're able to watch this at home, assuming that most of them do, Shannon especially will, but when they're doing that and when they really evaluate her gameplay, that's one of the things to take note of. The fact that she literally strategized with Ross when she could have just been watching the veto, I think it just says a lot about her, and I really did like the way that was played out. Again, I've never really seen that before, and I think Omarosa really is doing a fantastic job. Focus more on this stuff. Don't focus on her talking about Trump incessantly. I'm really getting tired of it. Look, I get it that you're dominating in the ratings. I get it that you're making all these headlines, but I'm not watching Big Brother because I want to see Omarosa go on and on about how terrible her time with Trump was. I just simply don't care. You've said it like 5 times. It's just not funny anymore. It's not entertaining. It's just boring. It's boring. I don't want to see it anymore, and that's really all I have to say about it. So, you know, obviously the veto, Ari does end up getting the veto, which I was really happy about that. Marissa's put on the block, and Marissa, you can see, she's pretty upset about it, and I really thought that there was going to be a chance that Marissa could possibly, you know, leave, and Brandi could somehow get out of this, but like I said, after that whole storm that she caused, you know, with the whole Julie situation and the whole, you know, yelling at Marissa, things like that, all the fights she had, you know, those various things, I don't think there was any way Brandi could really get out of this. So what ends up happening next, I'm not very surprised about. To the surprise of no one, like I said, Brandi is in fact evicted from the house, and I did really like her interview with Julie, I will definitely say that. And that is something I did like about this 2 hours, is that they had a lot more time to interview the house guests, and they just had a lot more time for everything, and that's something I did overall enjoy. I like seeing her interview Brandi, I like her asking Brandi what she thinks of James, and I just thought that was a lot of fun overall, so I was really entertained by the Brandi interview. I am definitely going to miss her in the house. I think she was definitely one of the most entertaining house guests out of everyone this season, and you know, luckily, like I said, we only have 2 episodes left, so it's not like we have that much time where we're like, oh, I miss Brandi, I wish Brandi was still here. You know, that's not going to happen this season, so, you know, it was a good eviction overall, but then, of course, we get to the second eviction of the night, and I really did like the way this played out. I thought it was honestly really well done. First of all, I don't know if they were just partitioning off the backyard because they had to set up for the final HOH, but did anyone notice that all the competitions played in this episode were actually inside? I don't think I've ever seen that before, but yeah, not a single competition was played inside. Outside. All of the competitions, including the veto, were played inside, and again, I have not really seen that. I don't know if they were setting up for the HOH or whatever. I don't know when they played the HOH. I'm assuming it was sometime after the episode because the feeds were down, so I don't even know when they were playing the HOH. But in general, I did like the way this played out. Omarosa does end up getting the HOH. Now, I like that it was kind of like they were all sequestered and they didn't know, like, the outcome of everything. I thought that was interesting overall. I didn't necessarily see the point of it. Like, why did you need to sequester them for this specific, you know, HOH, other than the fact that there just isn't enough room to fit like 5 people. I did not really understand that. But like I said, Omarosa does take the win. And of course, she's ready to make a big move once again. I was really happy with this because I'm like, okay, this really will make up for that lame eviction that we got on Monday. I mean, everyone remembers how uneventful that is. I'm honestly forgetting about it. I want to forget about it, but it was such a terrible moment in an otherwise really well-done season. It's hard to forget about. So the fact that Omarosa did win, I thought she really did have her redemption, and that is basically what ends up happening. Because she goes for it right off the bat. She puts up Ross and Marissa. She's not pulling any punches whatsoever. And that's something I really did like. I like that she went for the big guns. She put up those two. And Ross does end up getting the POV here in a very, albeit short POV. Maybe the shortest one I've seen. At first, I thought it was going to be like the hide and go veto. But I'm glad they didn't do that because there was literally no time for them to do that. But Ross does end up winning the POV. I didn't fully understand how that veto worked, but whatever. He takes himself off and she does put up James, and from there, we pretty much knew James was a dead man walking, and it makes sense why they take out James. Why? Because out of everyone, I think James is the most physical threat. He's someone who has shown he can win competitions, he's always game for these competitions, and he's someone who, I've said this so many times, he's one of those people who it's like, why is James still in the house? Why is he still here? You know, why didn't we get rid of him weeks ago? Why is he still, you know, continuing to be in the house? Why does he have this deal with Mark? We should just get rid of him now. And I think this was definitely the right time to do so. While it wasn't necessarily the person I wanted, I really thought they could have used this on Marissa. Again, I think it makes a lot of sense, especially with them heading into the finale. It makes sense to get rid of James now, and I was overall happy with the way it played out. He was very gracious about it, more gracious than I expect him to be. So again, I'm not too upset with him leaving. I just felt they could have maybe used him. You know, that maybe they could have used this on someone bigger, like, say, a Marissa or a Ross, but James is still pretty big. I'm assuming they did this because, again, of his alliance, with Mark and the fact that there was no way he was going to ally with Omarosa, which I do think is still disappointing. I really do wish him and Omarosa had started something, but that's really all I have to say in terms of the double eviction. So, of course, guys, now we're going to talk about where I do think the show is going moving forward. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Well, I didn't say it, but I alluded to it in my last review. This finale is going to be a mess. I mean, there's no possible way that I think we can actually have some sort of a cohesive finale. It's going to be messy. They're clearly trying something different, and I don't know if they really need to do it. I do not think this was the time to try this out. It doesn't seem like a good decision. Maybe on paper, it sounds like a cool idea. Oh, let's have a final 5 instead of a, you know, final 3. It kind of sounds like a cool idea, but there's simply just too much to do within those last 2 hours for this to be a cohesive finale. And there's going to be so many things that are happening at once. Julie basically said there's going to be like 2 HOHs. I don't know. It's really confusing. I don't really know the way that's going to play out. What I do want to talk about is where everyone's headed from here, because obviously we have the final 5, Omarosa, Ari, Ross, Marissa, and of course Mark, which again, I'm very surprised that someone like Marissa and Ross are both still there, but again, that's again attributed to the fact that Metta and Keshia quit and the house gets let them. So, you know, again, that's more on them, not on Marissa and Ross. I mean, I guess you can praise Marissa and Ross because they've been able to get the target off their backs, but again, that's more because of what happened with Metta on Monday. That's kind of what went down there, but either way, I am very excited to see how this finale does play out. I think there definitely are a lot of possibilities. My 2 picks are now Omarosa and Ari. I think those 2 are the most deserving. I think, like I said, what Omarosa did, I was a little bit hesitant. I'm like, should I really give her the win? You know, should they really give her the win? Does she really deserve it? No. What I saw with her strategizing with Ross and the fact that she did take someone out like James and the fact that she is, for the most part, still game. She's just been very under the radar. I really did like seeing her pull off that win. I like seeing her strategizing with James, and I think there are enough good reasons why Omarosa should win the game. However, I think Ari is probably going to win. No one's coming after her. You know, everyone's saying that they wouldn't mind losing to her. So I think for all those reasons, that is why Ari is probably going to walk away victorious in this situation. So we'll have to see the way that does play out. Who they're going to sit next to, Ross or Marissa. I think those 2 might actually be the ones to leave. We'll just have to see. If Omarosa wins HOH, maybe she will sit next to Ross. I don't really know. I mean, again, Omarosa has a way of doing things where you think she's sincere, but she's not, and also when she's talking to someone, that other person feels guilty. So it is kind of hard to read her sometimes, but that's one of the reasons why I do like Omarosa as much as I do. So I'm interested in seeing really where that's gonna, how that's all gonna play out, really what's gonna happen here. And again, this final five in general, I am overall satisfied by. These are all players that showed their, cards for sure. Even Mark, someone who was very under the radar, in that HOH, he did show that he wasn't just going to sit idly by. He actually does want to play. He actually did want to start something with James. Sure, it didn't work out, but the fact that he still is around, I'm happy about. So, yeah, this is probably one of the more satisfying Final Fives I've seen in recent memory. It's just kind of going too quickly. That's the problem. I think this season's just a little too quick. And I think, that's not something you hear me say a lot, so that is definitely a positive. The fact I'm not saying, oh, it's so slow and I'm bored, because I never was really bored with this. Okay, maybe the Metta eviction I was kind of bored with, but other than that, I am really excited to see how this finale does play out. I think it's something different, and I'm hoping it's not the clusterfuck I think it's going to be, because just from the way Julie described it and the way it sounds, when you hear Final Five in one episode, and you got to narrow it down to two people, it just sounds really messy. Now, if there is a way for them to do it, with fluidity and, in a way that feels very seamless, then good on them. But we'll just have to see the way that really does play out. But either way, guys, that's really it for my review of the double eviction episode overall. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Loved your thoughts on it. Of course, I will not be reviewing episode 12. I will be reviewing the finale, not till Monday, though. There's just no way I'm going to get to it tomorrow. I am unfortunately working, so I'm going to miss the entire finale. I will definitely watch it Monday, though, so definitely look forward to that. And I will see you guys in my next video. Okay, bye.